Hi, today I'd like to review the book I read, Mieko Kawakami's Heaven, a novel. And this book, somebody on my YouTube channel suggested that I should read this. And so I finally found a copy at the library and checked out, and I read it in a couple of days. And it is about 1990s Japan, school bullying. And at that time, I think it's very, very common social problems in Japan, that kids are revolting, and lots of violence, school violence there. And so I think that this particular author probably wrote, I think what I understand is Mieko Kawakami grew up in that kind of culture. 1990s, she was about 14 years old or something. And so she grew up in that kind of culture, and she probably felt compelled to write this type of story. And because she's a female author, I didn't know anything about this content of this particular fiction until I started to read it. And so my misconception is that because she writes very delicate style and very detailed descriptions of the environment and detailed descriptions of the things. And so protagonist narrates their story. And so I thought this protagonist was a female because, kind of a delicate descriptions of the schools, and, she was being bullied or something. So I assumed that she was a female author. And she gets this note, very clandestine note hidden in the desk or something, that I like you and I like to meet you. Could you meet me at some place? So she was kind of a halfway, kind of a little bit feeling kind of excited or whatever, but halfway kind of dreaded to go there. But she went there. And then, I was assuming she was anticipating to see this male, a boy who, wrote that particular note. And then it turned out to be a female waiting there. And I said, wow, that's interesting, a female. And then they start to make friends because she was also victims of a school bullies. So those two people are a very similar situation at the school and being bullied. And so wow, that's a female friendship or whatever. But midway I realized this particular protagonist is not a female. It's a male because there was a masturbation scenes and everything. And but even then I realized, is she a transgender or something like that? So my misconception started because she's a female author, and I thought she is writing about the female, the girl at school, and that's my prejudice or misconceptions of the particular book. And it's about a victim's point of view of being bullied and powerless. But I was hoping still, midway I was hoping something comes up and the situations improve. But as always, the nature of the school bullying is like you has to be very secretive, and nobody knows. Teacher wouldn't know. Nobody talks about it. Even the victim never tell parents or friends, or friends knows, of course, but never tell teachers anything. So that type of culture going on there, and so the victims suffers, tremendously suffer. In midway, it's a tremendous violent bully behaviors there depicted. And also I thought it was interesting is that the perpetrator of the bullying is all like a very popular kid, very athletic and very bright kids. So in my mind, also that very very sports talented athletic kids or very bright kids are very very good kids. But in this fiction, they are the perpetrator of the school bullies. And so psychology of being bullied and the side of the perpetrator of the school bullies also shows up here, why they are doing it and why victims are very quiet and to the point of committing suicide. So overall, this is, I think, a very very good writing, and I think if you don't mind the violence part of it, this book you once you get into it, you cannot get out of it. You have to read it, and so well written, and going toward like a sympathetic conclusion or some kind of learning conclusions. I was hoping to get there, and it gets there. So that's overall, I think it's a good read, even though I don't recommend that people who doesn't like violence. I don't think it's a good feeling. It's very very uncomfortable read because of the depictions of violence is so realistic and so violent, and so in that sense, I kind of hesitate to recommend for anybody to read this. But if you are minded, book reader who think that kind of a depictions is necessary, and you have to tell the story of the war crime, war violence, and crime of the violent behavior has to be told. Even today, today's society, there's a war going on, and the one country is attacking the other country, and so they are retaliating. All these things going on. So that has to be told, even though it's very very uncomfortable. It's very, you are almost to the point of angry. Why they do that? Why do they do this Asian era? Why do they have to do a violence like that? And but it is a very realistic depictions of culture there. At that time, 1990s Japan, and I'm not sure today school bullying is still continuing. I think it's still continuing because that's the nature of the human being, I would say. Just like a war is still continuing today. And so, in the sense, you have to kind of bite the bullet and read it. And it's worthwhile read, but I'm not sure after reading this, I'm not sure myself. I like to read another Kawakami's fiction, assuming that the other fiction is the same type of fiction, kind of a violent type of depictions of something, and I don't like that, so I have to be kind of careful because psychologically there's a lots of other books that great books. For example, it doesn't have to be go to the violence, the depictions of things, and yeah, I think I really feel that even though this book is well written, very nice, the stories telling, very detailed storytelling, very sympathetic, very involving the reading here, and so in that sense it's good, but at the same time it's unnerving and very uncomfortable reads. So that's my Mieko Kawakami's Heaven impression. And thinking about why, Keigo Higashino wrote this Midnight Sun fiction, and it's about the same thing. It's about the school bullies stories happening about 1990s. And I think both Keigo Higashino and Kawakami grew up in kind of a culture, and they felt pretty much has to tell the story of the school bullies. And but for people who didn't know that type of stuff, or doesn't know, or who doesn't like the violence and all these things, I think it's a very I would say foreign. I would say, why do they have to? You question why do they have to rewrite? Do they have to write again and again and again this type of story? And just like a story of human nature or the realistic life, you have to know that. You have to know the news items that what's happening. But in a way, you don't have to know that because that doesn't give you any peace, any happiness, any learning. In this book, you kind of the people kind of changes and slowly changes and conquer that particular difficulty there slowly. And that's a very good feeling. So at the end of this book, you have a nice, redemptions of reading this type of book, I would say. And it's good read. But you always question. And I also felt like, wow, I have this idea of, without knowing anything about this, idea of the female Japanese author, because I have read many Yoko Ogawa and the other Banana Yoshimoto and all these other people's books, and I have this a little bit of a misconceptions of a Japanese female writer, because Japanese female writers are very popular in Japan, and it's getting more popular worldwide. And I think that's where, in Japan, the people, female or male, are not equal. Of course, worldwide they are not equal, of course, but especially in Japan, I think this particular culture still remains there. But not only the male or female relationship, but also society's hierarchy relationship, or society's like a peer pressure oriented culture is very strong even today. And people work very hard and causing lots of stresses and lots of problems in there. And Japanese people's suicide rate is very high. And so in my mind, I kind of escaped from that country when I was very young. and because I didn't like that particular aspects of it, and that aspects of it, the Japanese culture aspect of samurai culture type of thing, or people who cannot express their own feeling openly, are very still existing there, and I think this is the criticism of that particular culture. I really feel that way, and because why not? Why then you have to talk about that kind of a story, and it's about essentially it's about Japanese inequality problem, and the Japanese this repressed societies, criticism toward that, and especially male and female, this the differences, criticism toward that, and as a female writer's point of view is very evident here, and so in that case, if you want to know the Japanese culture, I think this is a must. You have to read. And so yeah, that's my review. I think I just read it, and my thoughts is very conflicted, and my feeling also very conflicted. But yeah, so yeah, that's my fresh feeling after reading this book. Okay.